Hey, what's up everybody? This is going to be a short guide on if you should choose the Vanquish or the Shimano Stella as your main fishing reel if you're looking into these two high-end reels. Starting with the Stella, it's the one that I have the most fishing experience with. It has an aluminum spool, aluminum rotor, and as well as a magnesium body. It's a very smooth reel with a metal cap on top, whereas the Vanquish has a plastic cap on top, which feels quite a bit cheaper. However, we'll get to that in a bit. The Shimano Stella is a very smooth reel. It kind of reminds me of a very expensive clockwork when you spin the handle. It's supposed to have this special type of reeling experience with it. So when you're going fishing with it on the water, it's more to be a refined reel, which will feel, I would say, a bit better than the Vanquish in terms of when you spin it on the table like this. However, the Vanquish as well, it is quite a solid reel. It does the job as long as you don't fish for small tuna or anything like that. Obviously, it's going to be a bit too much. If you would go salmon fishing, for example, I would choose the Stella because it has a more solid build to it. And when you're fighting a salmon, for example, in rivers, it's more of it's putting a lot more pressure on the reel because of the river, and it has a lot of current and such. However, for my fishing, I've found that the Vanquish is probably the better reel. I usually have just constant whining. I'm throwing crankbaits, normal just swim baits and such in trout areas, and I fish a lot in the lakes. But mostly I fish with crankbait. And for this, the Vanquish or the Stella, both of these reels work very well for that job. The Stella is more of a constant wind reel, whereas the Vanquish is more when you stop and start all the time. However, you can do that just fine with the Stella. I haven't seen any issues with it. I haven't felt any issues with it when it comes to fishing it like this. So really, it's just a matter of what kind of reel you like. Do you like the lighter reel with a lighter winding? Or do you like the Stella with a heavier feel, however, a more kind of refined winding? I would say that these two are pretty close when it comes to refinements. It's just a different kind of feeling. Obviously, because this is a lighter reel, it feels a bit cheaper, especially when it comes to this cap, which is all plastic. The sound of it, I think, is better than the Stella. However, they should have gone with some metal on top here, just to make it feel like a more premium reel, because obviously this costs you a lot, as well as the Stella. But at the price point, I think that they should have gone with a more metal cap, just to increase the quality feel of the reel. The Stella has a metal cap on top, which feels like quality. It's very tight. Everything on the Stella is quite tight. The tolerances are good, the gears are good, the wind feel is very good, and also this handle here, or pad handle, I like it quite a lot. I think it's good to fish with for my style. I really enjoy fishing this reel, and I'm really glad I bought it. However, I've had an issue with it, which means that I'll be returning this reel, and I'll be changing it out for the Vanquish, sorry. For good reason. I banged this on a rock, and after that I could kind of hear the gears when I'm on the water. Not in any unusual sense, but it just makes a lot more noise after I banged it on a rock than it did beforehand. So it's obviously a sound that's not supposed to be there. I think something has misaligned, and therefore it makes more sound. However, I do not have the answer, and I do not have the capacity to open up the reel myself, because I don't want to do that. Instead, I want to return the reel, and I would rather get myself a Vanquish instead. So now that I have both reels, I thought of making a comparison. So this is more of it feels like a clockwork to work with or to fish with. It's kind of more like a clockwork type of winding. I like it quite a lot. It works very well for me. I have not had any issues when it comes to fishing with this reel. The drag is very smooth. It can handle quite a punch, this reel. If you get a big fish that takes a lot of drag, the new drag system on this, or the drag washers, last a lot longer. They're also, in my opinion, a bit smoother. and they can handle a lot more fish before need changing. Moving on to the Vanquish, it's more of a light type reel. It's very fun to use this reel when you're fishing in small rivers, trout fishing and anything. It's kind of more, I would say it was more an exciting reel. If you're choosing the Stella, you're going to be more excited for this than for this purchase. However, the Vanquish does the job just as well as the Stella, and in some cases even a bit better when it comes to small streams, lightweight fishing. This one just hits it out of the park in my opinion. When it comes to smoothness compared to the Stella, I would say they're very, very close. I don't really notice any difference when it comes to it. The only difference probably for me is that the Stella feels more like clockwork and the gears are a bit tighter tolerance. However, it's not bad on the Vanquish at all. It's barely even any tolerance here at all. And the same goes for the Stella. It's not, there's no tolerance at all. This one is a bit tighter, whereas the Vanquish has a bit more tolerance, but for me, it hasn't been an issue at all. Also, when it comes to the drag clicker, the Stella has more of this tight feel to it, or the tight sound. Whereas the Vanquish has a bit of a louder clicker and a more hollow kind of sound to it. And the Vanquish is a bit louder, which I like. I think the clicker on the Vanquish, I fancy it more than the Stella. However, it is a reel that feels a bit cheaper. I think a lot of that would have been resolved by having some metal up in here instead of just plastic. But I think they choose plastic just to save the weight. This one is approximately 50 grams lighter than the Stella, and it's a very good reel, both of them. So it's more, the answer if you should choose the one or the other is more based on your fishing. If you're fishing for trout in rivers where they don't get very, very big, I mean up to approximately 7 kilos, the Vanquish can do that just fine. If you're fishing in deep lakes where you're fishing very big fish, the capacity on the Stella, I think it's a better purchase unless you're fishing with braid. If you're using mono, I would go for the Stella when it comes to fishing for very large fish on a small reel, because the Vanquish only have shallow spools as I've seen near me. However, if you're fishing braid, it doesn't really matter as long as you're fishing a thin braid without any issues. I would go for either of these reels really. But it's more like your decision should be based on, do you like the light feel? Both of them are as refined as I said. The only difference is that Stella is a bit tighter when it comes to the gears. However, the smoothness it's just exceptional on both of them. I have a Daiwa Certed as well. I don't have it right now because it's at service. It needs some fixing. But compared to the Daiwa, I would say that if you're choosing a Daiwa, it's more for the kind of like the sensitivity you get at the handle, whereas the Stella feels a bit more disconnected. However, it's a good reel. I like the feeling of it. I like fishing it. It's a very fun reel to fish. And as well as the Vanquish, it is a fun reel. It is a great reel. It has a better clicker than the Stella. However, the top knob feels a bit cheaper. So it's basically if you like fishing lightweight gear, if you like the more solid, heavier winding, but also kind of this clockwork type of feel to it. So that's what you should be basing your decision on, if you should go for the Stella or you should go for the Vanquish. I think either reel that you choose, you're going to be happy with it. However, note that the price difference is quite a lot, and the Vanquish shares a lot of the same technology that the Stella does. So in my opinion, it's probably the Vanquish for me. That's going to be the winning reel, because both of them has a magnesium body. Both of them have an aluminum spool. So the difference is really in the rotor and the gears. The Stella has better coating on the gears. The Vanquish does not. However, for the price of one Stella, you could almost get two Vanquishes. So that's something to keep in mind, because you can have two different types of Vanquishes, or two different Vanquishes in a different size. So for the same price as a Stella, you obviously need to spend a bit more. However, you could get two reels, and you can have two reels that you use in different situations. And also, it's quite a nice reel. It's not the most exciting buy. You're gonna be more excited with the Stella. However, the Vanquish is the better value for your money in terms of refinement and feel, and as well as how well it does the job. It does the job very well. Same goes for the Stella. So whatever reel you're going to be choosing, it's going to be up to you. If you like the lightweight, you like to have a refined lightweight reel with a very light rotational force, or a bit heavier rotational force, but it feels more of a clockwork type of feel. So that's what you're going to be basing your decision on, if you should buy the Stella or the Vanquish, because they share a lot of the technologies. Personally, for the sake of your wallet, I would choose the Vanquish. It does the job very well. It can handle quite a big fish. It doesn't budge a bit once you hook a big fish, and it stays, so it's a solid reel. The same goes for the Stella. It's a very solid feeling reel. It's a very good reel. I like the knob a bit better on the Stella than I do on the Vanquish. However, I think that doesn't really matter, because both of these handles are very comfortable to fish with. Both of these reels are very comfortable to fish with for many, many hours on the water. And you should be basing your decision on if you like lightweight rotation or a more solid build and a solid rotation. So hopefully that helped. You can leave a comment in the comment section, and if you have any questions, and I can help you with that if you have any questions about these reels. So yeah, safe fishing, and have a good catch.